Hey everyone, it's Justin here from Number Crunch Nerds, and in this video we're going to do how to prepare your Forms 1099 NEC using TurboTax. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what other tax topics you'd like to see me make videos about. Alright, so for this video we're going to be in the TurboTax Home and Business Edition. This is the 2023 edition. This right here is the first screen that you're going to see when you open up the software. So we're going to click, to do a 1099, we're going to click Begin. And then you get two choices here, Start an Individual Income Tax Return, which you can see me do plenty of examples of in other videos on my channel. For this video, we're going to select option number 2 here, which is prepare my W-2s and my 1099s for my employees and my contractors. And you're going to get a table when you select that option that's going to give you a couple of choices. So let's go through those choices and make sure we understand what needs to be done. Here is the real crux of the issue. Do you need to e-file your Forms 1099 NEC? And this is actually going to be applicable to your W-2s as well as any Form 1099. So W-2s or 1099s of any kind, do you have to e-file them? And how are you going to know if you have to e-file them? Because if the answer is yes, and you have to e-file them, we're going to use the TurboTax Online edition. Online is going to be required if you have to e-file. If you do not have to e-file, we can use the desktop edition, which is right here. And for this particular video that you're watching right now, I'm going to use the desktop edition. However, I'm going to make another video, which you will find a link below in the description, where I will go through how to do it online as well. So the first question, though, is are you required to do it to do an e-file or a print file? And how are you going to know if you are required? For that, we're going to go straight to the horse's mouth here. Right here at irs.gov, e-file Forms 1099 with IRIS. This is a system that the IRS has available where you can e-file forms for free. I prefer to use TurboTax because not only could you file your 1099s, but you can also file your tax returns and all of your other business forms. So the point of checking here, though, is this box right here. 10 or more returns e-filing is now required starting for tax year 2023 if you have 10 or more information returns. By the way, a 1099 and a W-2, those are called information returns. That is what's being referred to right here. So in 2023, if you have 10 or more of those, you must file them electronically. And if we go down here a little bit further on the page, you can see forms you can now e-file. You can e-file any of these 1099s. As I said, for most people watching this video, it's going to be this one right here, Form 1099 NEC, to file for your independent contractors that you paid. You also may need to file a Form 1099 Miscellaneous. That's a very common form. We're going to go through both of those in various videos using the TurboTax filing software. Also W-2s. So you have to add up. It's not 10 Forms 1099 NEC separate from 10 W-2s, etc. You have to add them all up together. And let's check another page right here. It says, this is also at the irs.gov, new electronic filing requirements for W-2s. All right, it says, if the total is at least 10 returns, they must be filed electronically. This new threshold is effective for information returns. Remember, W-2, 1099, those are information returns. Information returns required to be filed in the calendar year beginning in 2024. That is what all of you are watching right now. You are probably watching this video in early 2024 trying to figure out how to file your W-2s and your 1099s. And unless the rule changes, this will be applicable in 2025 and 2026. You will be required to e-file these returns if you have 10 or more. The new rules apply to tax year 2023 Forms W-2 because they are required to be filed by January 31st, 2024. So let's go back to TurboTax. All right, we are back here. So again, for this version, I'm going to click Choose Desktop. I'm going to say that I have 10 or I have less than 10. I have 9 or less Forms 1099 and Forms W-2 to prepare and file. So I'm going to choose Desktop for this video. Check the link below for a second video that's going to go through the online approach. So we're going to click this. Starting a new return. All right, so here we are. Welcome. Easily create W-2 and 1099 filings for your employees and your contractors. Now, a 1099 NEC specifically, which is what we're working on, 1099 NEC means independent contractor. W-2 means employee. 1099 NEC means independent contractor. All right, so there's no mixing those up. There's no confusing them. There's no could be one way, could be the other. W-2 always means an employee. 1099 NEC always means an independent contractor. So we're going to be able to create W-2s, 1099 NECs, 1099 miscellaneous using the software. Those other forms will be in different videos. For this one, we're doing 1099 NEC, so I'm going to click Continue. I'm going to click on the box here for 1099 NEC. Again, you must prepare a Form 1099 NEC for independent contractors and non-employees, okay, again, not an employee, that you paid during 2023. Now, there are some exceptions to this. If you would like to see if an exception applies to you, you can check out on YouTube, search for Number Crunch Nerds, Form 1099, and I have a variety of videos that will show you opportunities where an exception applies to you and perhaps you don't actually have to file a Form 1099 NEC, or ways that you can change your business practices in 2024 so that perhaps you don't have to file a 1099 NEC next year in 2025. For this video, we're assuming that you have already determined that you are required to file a Form 1099 NEC for payments you made to an independent contractor. And so since you have already determined you have to file one, this is all about how to file it. That's what we're doing in this video. Okay? Use the date paid and not the dates the independent contractor or non-employee worked. So let's look at the example here that they give just to make this clear. If you paid a contractor in January on January 5th, 2024 for work performed in the last part of 2023, okay, you would include that payment in the 2024 filing, which you would file in 2025. If you are watching this video at the beginning of 2024 and you are preparing these forms for last year, for 2023, then a payment you made to a contractor on January 5th, 2024 would not be included in your payments. These are only cash payments you made to an independent contractor in 2023 if you're preparing this at the beginning of 2024. So let's close that. So I'm going to check this box. We're going to go down here. We're going to click Continue. Get organized. Here is the information that you're going to need to have available to complete this section. So you're going to need your full business name, address, your business identification numbers, contact information, the title of the person signing this form. This is all pretty standard, basic information, so we don't have to belabor that. Get all your business information together. Let's hit Continue. All right, what kind of company do you have? For this one, I'm going to select probably the most likely version of this for people watching this video, and that's going to be a sole proprietorship that you prepare on Schedule C. If you have a partnership that files a 1065, or if you have a corporation that files an 1120, or if you have an S corporation election to file an 1120S, or a fiduciary or trust, chances are you're not using the TurboTax Home and Business Edition. You're using the TurboTax Business Edition for 2023, and I am going to have videos up which you can search for specifically using the Business 2023 software. But for purposes of filing a Form 1099, you probably can check any of these within this software package. But we're going to select the most likely option, which is you have a Schedule C which is an operating business like a retail store, an online store, or you provide some kind of services like you're a roofer, a landscaper, a painter, a real estate agent, you sell piping, you sell whatever. You have a operating business. That's a Schedule C. Schedule E is a rental business. If you rent property, you rent, you have residential rentals that you're renting to individual people, and you paid an independent contractor to perform services on those rentals. That's a Schedule E. Schedule F is a farm or some kind of agricultural business, which I'm sure some people watching have this. This is going to be less common. The most common ones are going to be Schedule C and E. So click this sole proprietorship. Let's click continue. All right. So I'm going to enter some example company information here. All right, so I got it in there. Example company 123 doing business as Jerry's Transportation and Freight. Stick in an address here. Now, are you going to select EIN or SSN? If you have an EIN for this business, that is what you should pick. That is the recommended choice. If you are not sure if you have an EIN, you would have had to have applied for one with the IRS and been assigned one, and you would have received something in the physical paper mail that would tell you what the EIN of your entity is. Chances are, if you did this, you are what's called a single member LLC. Okay, that's an LLC, but it only has one member, which most likely is you. If you have an EIN, you probably are aware of it. If you don't know if you have an EIN, chances are you don't, and you can still apply for one going forward. But for now, you're going to have to put in your social security number because you are operating this business under your personal name as opposed to doing it through a legal entity or a disregarded entity. So for this example, I'm just going to pick EIN. We're going to click continue. Right here, we're going to enter EIN. So I'm going to put an EIN in there. Click continue. Enter your state information. If your business has a state ID number, enter the following information for the states and localities below. So if you have a state ID number, you're going to select your state right here. You're going to put your ID number here. In this additional information, explain this. It says, do not enter a state if you do not have a state ID number. So your business is going to have to be issued a state ID number. Right here, the state ID number is assigned to you by your state taxing authority. If you do not have one, then do not enter a state. If you withheld taxes in a locality, right, a certain region or a county, for example, within certain states, you're going to enter that as well. Here is the list of states that TurboTax has localities for, has local jurisdictions for. Just go down, find your state, pick the relevant one off the list, and you can enter the state and then the locality ID right here. Okay, this is for your business, the business that is paying these employees and 1099 independent contractors. All right, continue. Right here, enter the contact person. So basically, this is going to be the person that's going to sign the tax return for this company in most cases. It's going to be either you, the owner, the president, the CEO, whoever if you've been engaged to prepare these 1099s for another person who owns the company, it's probably going to be their name. You should check with that person. If the person is you, then you're going to put your information in here if you are the owner of the company. So let me stick some information into these fields right here. Okay, so we have Kevin J. Smith, enter the contact information, owner. It says if you're not sure who is going to sign these forms, who is going to sign the tax return for this company, you can just leave this field blank. So that's fine. If you don't know, best practice is probably to find out who's going to sign the tax return. But if you don't know, you can just leave that blank. Continue. All right, do you want to prepare any forms W-2? Now, before, if you look up here in the tabs right here at the top, we were filling out this section called Business Info, and that is the information about your business, the entity that is going to pay, the company that is going to pay employees if it's a W-2, independent contractors if it's a 1099 NEC. So you enter the same business information for either of these forms as well as for a 1099 miscellaneous. So if you are going to go back and prepare W-2s, we can click yes right here. For now, I'm just going to click no so we can skip the screens related to W-2s, but you could click yes and go through that process as well with the same business information that you've already entered. So you don't have to enter that in twice. For now, I'm just going to say no so we can skip those screens, and we're going to go straight here to the Form 1099 NEC. Do you want to prepare or review Forms 1099 NEC for payments made during 2023 to independent contractors and or non-employees? Yes, we do. So I'm going to click yes, continue. Form 1099 NEC. Prepare a Form 1099 NEC for payments made during 2023. This form should be used to report payments for $600 or more to independent contractors, non-employee compensation, including parts and materials that you may have purchased, payments to any attorney, cash payments to fishing boat crews for sale of catch. That probably doesn't apply to anybody watching. Non-qualified deferred compensation probably doesn't apply to most of the people watching. For most people, it's going to be bullet number 1 here, independent contractors. Now, I want you to note something down here. Do not include amounts paid electronically, i.e. through debit or credit card, PayPal, or Square, etc. Now, this is very important right here. If you search on YouTube for Number Crunch Nerds and do I have to file a Form 1099? This is 1099 NEC specifically. This is one of the biggest outs right here. If you pay all of your independent contractors using a debit card or a credit card or PayPal or Square or Venmo or Zelle or any of those third-party payment processors, you do not have to file this form. Okay, let me say that again, because you may do that a lot, or maybe you do that all the time, or maybe you're considering updating your business practices for 2024 and beyond. Instead of paying by cash, instead of paying by a check, even an e-check, you start paying through a third-party payment processor or debit or credit card to any vendor or service provider, any independent contractor that provides services to your business. This gets you out of the filing requirement right here. So let's just say, as an example, all of your vendors, all of your service providers that came in and rendered services to your business, whatever those services may be, anything from somebody who actually creates something on your online platform, to somebody who fixes the physical building, any service provider that you engage as an independent contractor, if you pay them by Square or by PayPal or by Venmo or by credit card, it gets you out of filing this form. It's only if you pay $600 or more by check, and not just one time, cumulatively over the course of the year. So if you pay the same contractor more than $600 cumulatively, by check or by cash or by some method that is not one of these third-party payment processors, that's when you have to file. So you should go, if you're interested in maybe updating your business practices so you can get out of filing this form completely, you should go check out that video. On more detail, we go straight to the IRS website so you can see the source data that says if you pay by one of these methods, you don't have to file this form. And the reason, so you understand, is because these companies have to file another form informing the vendor that you paid that they received a payment through use of these platforms. So it takes the filing requirement off of you and it puts it onto these third-party platforms. But let's just, for this example, we're going to continue assuming that you didn't do this or you didn't do it all the time, and there are vendors in question that you paid more than $600 to cumulatively over the course of the year by check or cash, and that's why you have to file the form. So let's hit continue. All right, recipient information, get organized. Here is what you're going to need to complete this section. You're going to need their full name, their business name, tax ID, whether that's a social security number, or maybe they have an EIN, employer identification number. They're going to have to give you what those things are. The total amounts you paid to them in 2023, remember, in this case, it's going to be more than $600, because if it was less, then you don't have to file the form in the first place. Any income tax withheld on those payments. Now, in most cases, this is going to be zero. A lot of people who pay independent contractors don't actually withhold any tax. If you do withhold the tax, you have to remit that to the IRS for federal, or to the state taxing authority, or to a local taxing authority if you happen to withhold local taxes. For most people, that's going to be zero. If you did withhold, you're going to need to know what that number is. Your business expense record. So you're gonna have to have a record, whether that's QuickBooks, whether that's in Excel, whether it's a shoebox full of receipts, whatever it is, you're going to need to have some kind of records that match the total amount which you're going to report on this form 1099. So if you have, let's say you have a vendor that you're going to pay, that you're going to file this form for right now, and you paid them $1,000 3 times. So that's $3,000. You're going to need 3 different receipts probably, or a QuickBooks file, or some kind of books and records that add up to 3,000, and that number is going to match what we're about to put on this form right here. Okay, recipient copies of 1099 NEC copy B must be postmarked by January 31st, 2024. We know that. So you have 1 month from the beginning of the year to send copy B of this form to the vendor. Okay, and if there's more than one, then you have to send it to more than one vendor. IRS copies of Form 1096 and Form 1099 NEC copy A must be postmarked by January 31st, 2024. All right, for those of you wondering what Form 1096 is, we're back here at irs.gov. 1096 is the annual summary and transmittal of U.S. information returns. Use Form 1096 to transmit paper forms, keyword being paper forms, of your 1099s. The easy answer is TurboTax is going to prepare this form for you, but it is only if you're going to use the TurboTax desktop edition and you're going to actually print off paper 1099s, which you're going to submit to the IRS. This is kind of like a cover letter that just goes with them. If you have more than 10, like we talked about, 1099s, or you just choose to use QuickBooks Online and do e-filing, then this form doesn't apply. It only applies to paper returns. So let's go, now with that in mind, let's go back to TurboTax, and we're going to fill in the information. I already went to the next screen and I started filling in the information for your recipient of the 1099. So we have Gary J. Henderson. This is a fake social security number. Just put in whatever their social security number is, or an EIN in this format if they give it to you, your vendor. Address. If this vendor stopped working for you in 2023, you can check this box and TurboTax will not carry this information forward to the next year. If they still work for you, just keep this box blank and this information will pre-populate in next year's TurboTax. Hit continue. All right, did you receive a TIN notice for Gary J. Henderson? Has the IRS sent you a notice that the tax ID number, TIN, for Gary J. Henderson is incorrect? Now, for most people, this will probably be no. If you did receive a TIN notice from the IRS regarding a particular vendor that you have filed 1099s in the past for, okay, that is a video topic in and of itself. So if you just search on YouTube for Number Crunch Nerds and TIN notice, I'll have a video up about that goes into detail about what you have to do regarding this issue. This relates to backup withholding, meaning you're going to have to withhold taxes in most cases on people who provided you incorrect information in the past. For now, we're just going to say no, that you did not receive a TIN notice with respect to this individual. Hit continue. All right, income from direct sales. Do all of the following apply to Gary J. Henderson? Your business made direct sales totaling $5,000 or more of customer products to Gary J. Henderson. Now, for most people filing a 1099 NEC, these people that you're filing it for, or these customers, not customers, but these vendors and service providers, they're going to be providing you with some kind of services in most cases. But there certainly can be instances where you sell $5,000 or more of product to this individual or company. You sold the goods on a buy, sell, deposit commission, or some other kind of commission basis, and Gary J. Henderson has no permanent retail location. Okay, if all of these are yes, you're going to have to click yes. You're still going to have to file a form, either a 1099 NEC or a 1099 miscellaneous, because the IRS wants this information reported because this individual has no permanent place of business. And basically, they don't want this information about what you sold them, which they are going to turn around and resell in this situation, to kind of fall through the cracks and not get reported. For this video, we're going to say no, and we're going to say that this individual is a service provider of some kind. So we're going to hit continue. All right, here is the nuts and bolts of finally getting to the 1099 NEC. Box 1, non-employee compensation. I'm going to use the example from before. Let's just say I paid this individual $3,000. We'll work on one 1099 NEC at a time. So you're not going to if you have more than one vendor that you're filing for, that you're going to prepare a 1099 NEC for, you don't have to go through the business info section again. That'll be the same. But what you will do is you'll fill out multiple of what we just did just for Gary J. Henderson over and over again until you fill out all of them. If you did happen to withhold taxes, federal or state, you can click this box. It'll give you some fields to type in the amounts that you withheld. For most people, that's going to be blank. So $3,000 right there, hit continue, and we are done with that one. This is the Form 1099 NEC summary. This list summarizes all the 1099 NEC entries that you made. If you have another vendor, you click add another 1099 NEC, you go through the process again. You could have any number of vendors in the list here. Right? But if it's more than 10, actually, if it's 10 or more, you're going to be doing this in the online version because you're required to e-file. So in this case, if you're doing desktop, there will be 9 or less in this list right here. And we're going to click done. Right here, we're going to assume that was the last one. Is 2023 the final year you need to file the 1099 NEC for this business? Well, in general, the answer is probably going to be no if your business practices are the same from year to year. But if you consider changing them, like I mentioned before, to only use third-party payment providers to pay your vendors, or only use credit cards to pay your vendors and stop paying them in check and cash, then the answer could be yes. Maybe this is the last year where you will be required to file a 1099. For now, I'm just going to say no. Let's hit continue. Do you want to prepare any 1099 miscellaneous forms? For now, let's say no, and let's get all the way, because we're almost done. We're almost done with, we're going to get to the analysis and the filing. Let's get there real quick. So I'm going to hit no for that. Here we go. Interview complete. We're going to check for errors. Continue. We're ready to check the forms. Continue. Let's see what happens. We found one area on your forms where we need to review the entries. We'll handle them one at a time. Click continue. Let's see what we got. Okay. Check this entry. Okay, in this case, I put in a fake social security number because this is just an example. So obviously, the TurboTax is designed to look for something like this and say, you know what, that may not actually be the right social security number. And in this case, this is an invalid social security number. Okay, we know that. We know that's correct because this is just an example. So other than that, everything appears to be correct. We will examine and file your report with potential inconsistencies in the information entered. If you are filing this for real, which you are, you're probably not going to get this because you're going to put in a valid social security number for the recipient of this form. Okay, 1096 reconciliation. This is going to be a transmittal form to make sure that you are reporting all the correct totals to recipients on Form 1099 NEC. Do the following. Total all of the amounts recorded on your 2023 books and records as business expenses that are reportable on 1099 NEC. Total the amounts of all these same expense categories which you are not preparing a Form 1099 NEC. For example, amounts you paid to corporations. Corporations is another out in most cases. If you actually paid a corporation $600 or more, you wouldn't have to file this form. This is a topic for another video if you want to learn about outs. You would have to know it's a corporation. Go watch the video about examples of when you don't have to file this form. If you want to learn more about that, just search on YouTube, Number Crunch Nerds, do I have to file a 1099 NEC? Or if you paid less than $600, you wouldn't be filing. Subtract the total of the items for which you are not preparing a 1099 NEC from the total business expenses that are reportable on 1099 NEC. This total should agree to the amounts reported on the 1096 NEC. So let's do a real simple example, okay? I'm going to go right over here into Excel. Let's say you have, here's the $3,000, okay, that we just prepared. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so that everybody can see it. Let's say that was my first 1099 NEC that we just prepared. And let's just say that you have another 1099 NEC for $6,000 and you have a third one for $8,000. Okay? And then you have some other vendors. Let's say you had one for $500. And let's say you had one for $230, whatever. Okay? And you had one for $400. These are all below the filing threshold. Well, if I add all this stuff up right here, this is my books and records. These are all the vendors that I paid. I paid 6 vendors. I paid one of them $3,000, one of them $6,000, one of them $8,000, one of them $500, one of them $230, one of them $400. The total came to $18,130. What is the number on my books and records? $18,130. What is the number on my transmittal form of the 1096 NEC? Well, it's going to be the sum of these three, okay? It's going to be 17,000, okay? So it says add up all your books and records, 18,130. Total up all of the ones for which you're not filing a form for, okay? Well, in that case, that's going to be 1,130. Okay, 17,000 that you have 3 1099 NECs. You have 3 vendors you paid which are below the threshold or otherwise doesn't apply. That's 1,130, right? Subtract the total of this number, right? The total on your books and records. Subtract out the ones you're not filing for, and you should have the ones on your 1096 NEC. So basically what they're saying is the number that's going to be on this transmittal form, make sure it matches your books and records minus the ones that you're not filing a form for. Make sense? This is just a check for you. Smart check. All right, continue. All right, we have examined your file for inconsistencies. All right, this is just a run smart check again field. I'm going to hit continue. Now, if you continue to get run smart check again prompts, you should just keep running it until TurboTax has sorted out any issues that may be in your live file. This is just an example file, and we didn't change the Social Security number, which we know is just an example Social Security number, so it's just going to keep finding that. So I'm just going to hit done for this example so we can get to the filing screen. For you, make sure that all of the smart check errors have been ironed out. All right, state returns, I'm not expecting anything really here because we either entered the information earlier in that field where the page where it said enter your state ID number and or locality code. For this example, we didn't enter any information. It says you do not have to enter any state information for the W-2 1099 reporter. You have already entered all necessary state information. So again, you either left it blank like we did in the example because you weren't issued a state ID number for your business, or you entered that state ID number already on a previous screen, so it would populate in the form, and there's nothing else to enter here, so let's continue. All right, we're here on the Filing tab. So you have gone through the process of preparing an NEC. Let's just do a quick print preview to check it out and see that we got it correct. I'm going to hit Preview Print Copy. All right, and here's the print preview. Example company 123, Jerry's Transportation and Freight, address, etc., etc. These are the instructions for filing the 1099 NEC and 1096. So just go through and follow these instructions. Make sure to get the filings in by January 31st, 2024 to avoid penalties. Here is the key date. This applies to everybody, January 31st, 2024. If you're preparing this in 2025, unless the law changes, the date will be January 31st, 2025. Give copy B to the recipient, right? This is the vendor. Give them their copy by January 31st of the relevant year as well. That's the big deadline. Use whatever address TurboTax gives you in field number 2 right here. Do not use the address you see in this video. This address can vary based on your location in the country, based on your type of entity, etc., etc. So don't use this. Just use whatever TurboTax gives you on your actual printout. All right, now let's go down here. Let's make sure we have everything. Here's the 1096. You're going to mail this in. Here, remember in our example, we only prepared one. It was for $3,000, one Form 1099 NEC. So here's the $3,000. If you had multiple, right? If you had prepared multiple and the number would be the sum of all of them. That's what would appear right here in this box. Total amount reported on all the different 1099 NEC forms. Total amount is going to be right there. And then finally, if we scroll down, somewhere down here is going to be the actual forms. Here's the first one, copy A, for the Internal Revenue Service Center. Do not cut or separate the forms on this page. I would just mail this entire page, because you'll notice in this copy A, there's actually no number here in box 1. I don't know why that is, but the number is right here in box 1 of this part. And it's not in this part, but it says do not cut or separate these forms. So I would send this entire page in. I would send the 1096, which was up here. I would take this page, and I would take this page down here with copy A and mail those in to the address on the instructions that TurboTax gives you. And then if we scroll all the way down here, here's copy B. Give that to the vendor by January 31st, 2024, or whatever year you're doing this for. And then finally, if you go down here, there's another one for the State Department of Tax. I don't believe you would have to do anything with this if this account number field is blank, which it is in our case, because there's no who are you going to give it to if you don't have a state ID number? Nobody. So unless you populated a state ID number, it'll show up in this field right here under account number. The state ID will show up right here. If you have one, then I would mail this copy in to the relevant state. All right? And then the rest of the forms in here you're going to keep for your books and records, and that is how you prepare and file your Form 1099 NEC in the QuickBooks Desktop edition. If you have any, that's for paper filing. If you have any questions, comments, please put them in the comment section below this video, and I will see you in the next video.